Welcome back to another YouTube video. In this one, I'm going to share how you can become more consistent whilst losing weight and losing fat. When I work with clients, the biggest thing for them is staying consistent. And let's face it, lower calories, doing all of these new habits, bringing all these new things into play into your life isn't easy and isn't fun. It's not easy. It's challenging. So consistency is affected by that. So I'm going to share something with you that will help. So if you are someone that starts a diet for 2-3 weeks and falls off, if you're consistent for a period of time, then all of a sudden the consistency is thrown out the window. It's completely normal. First of all, really normal for that to happen, because human beings like comfort. We like things that we already know. And if we're bringing things into our world that we don't know the outcome of or is new to us, our brain's going to perceive that as a threat. So we need to try and have as much or as less resistance as possible. And so I'm going to share that with you today. And I do hope that helps, because I've noticed it helps massively with my clients. So in some of the other videos previously, I've spoken about multiphasic dieting, and multiphasic dieting is basically periods of dieting and periods of non-dieting. And that's really useful for consistency, because what that allows you to do is break things up in your brain. So you know that there's a start date and an end date to this specific thing. So in this case, dieting. When we diet, we drop calories because we want to be in a calorie deficit. So if we know that we're dieting for 3 weeks, we're able to stay a little bit more consistent because we know that there's an end date. And then that end date might be a diet break. And that diet break might be for a week. And you may have scheduled that diet break around a time where you are going away on holiday or socializing more. So you're able to enjoy those foods without any guilt, without any shame, because that is multiphasic dieting. And then you can transition back into that diet phase, for however long it is. And again, it just provides your brain an end date. It knows that there's an end date coming up, and so it's just easier to stay consistent and stay locked in. So that is the number one thing I would want you to focus on and trial out. So how would you decide when to have a diet break and when not to have a diet break? The biggest thing I would do is get a pen and paper and write down how many events you have coming up. What events do you have? What type of events? How long are they? What holidays do you are coming up? And have them all written down. And then you've got a map or an idea of where you can have diet breaks. And then the diet phases can be sprinkled in between them. So let's say you're going to Ibiza for a week in 8 weeks' time. 8 weeks is a really long time to be in a diet, a diet phase. You 1000% could do that. However, what I would do would break that up even more, because 8 weeks is a long time. So your brain's going to be like, oh, that's a really long time. I don't know if I'm going to be able to commit to this, etc., 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 etc. In case I'm recovering from a cough. The air. So I'm. Hang on. There's a English job. Air quality in the apartment hasn't been great. The air filter's been replaced, and I was coughing I was just coughing a lot, and they've replaced the air filter, and I've seemed to get better, but I have a tickle at the back of my throat at times. But anyway, where was I? So yeah, I would break that up. So if you've got 8 weeks in total, I would break that up, maybe 4 weeks diet, 1 week off, and then the rest 3 weeks up until Ibiza, something like that, just trialing it out and seeing what works best for you. So, I mean, if you just think about it, you've probably been dieting for the best part of your whole life. And perhaps the idea of a diet break is like, oh wow, I can eat whatever I want, I'm going to overeat, I can't do that. That's something that, it's just alarm bells ringing. If that is the case for you, you need to do diet breaks, because once you reach the goal that you want to achieve, how the hell are you going to be able to keep that result? But that's another topic, another video, another discussion. So give the multiphasic dieting approach a go. Why not? What have you got to lose? So diet for a period, see how that changes in terms of, are you more consistent? Are you more maybe locked in because you've got an end date of that diet break? It's very important on the diet breaks. You're not overeating, of course. There still needs to be structure and balance, and I've got previous videos on how I would implement that. But you need to make sure there's still structure there. So just very quickly, when you enter a diet break, you're eating more food because you're experiencing what life will look like when you reach your results. Because you don't want to be dieting for the rest of your life. You want to have more food. You want to be at maintenance. So the way I would do that is still have structure. And the way I would do that is basically keep everything the same within the diet, but just increase the volume of food a little bit more. If you want a chocolate bar, have the bloody chocolate bar. It's unconditional permission to eat anything that allows you to have freedom in your choices and still have balance and structure with that. Research shows that high protein, high veg, because of the fiber, diets help with satiation. So when you go into these diet breaks, really focus on, where am I getting my protein from, where am I getting my veg from, and then everything else will just fall into place. Reducing ultra processed foods as much as possible, because again, ultra processed foods are very high in calories, very hyperpalatable, so you can certainly eat more calories than you would if you were to eat whole foods. So those would be the three biggest things that I would focus on when you're going into your diet break. But that's another video, another discussion. One last thing within this video, I want to run through planning ahead and reflecting. When you do not plan ahead, when you do not reflect on how your week has gone, it's just harder. You're not able to work out what's working for you and work out what's not working for you, and then change anything that might needs to be changed to help you get to where you want to get to. So an example here is, you might be on a diet for a week and then you overeat on one day and you don't reflect on why that is, and you just say, fuck it, I'll just get back to it on Monday, or it was just an off day, and then it happens again. You know what, it's fine, I'll just go again next week, and it happens again. Do you know what, I don't think I can do this, I'm not good enough. Inner critic comes in, you start beating yourself up because you've not had time to reflect on that day. And reflecting, if you'd reflected on that day, it might have looked like, okay, I overate because I didn't plan my meals ahead of time. I was really hungry when I entered that meeting at work. So next time I'm going to plan my meals ahead, and I'm going to make sure I'm not hungry when I go into a meeting. And you trial that out the next week, and it might work or it might not work. Parts of it might work, parts of it might not work. But you know what? You reflect again. You reflect on the failure that you've experienced, and then you're able to accommodate for that failure and understand, right, this is what I want to do next, to see if that works or not, and trial and error it. By the way, failure is a really important thing. You have to fail, because if you're not failing, you're not moving forward. A cliche saying is, we've all heard it, Thomas Edison, 1,000 attempts to do a light bulb. If he hadn't viewed those attempts where he had failed as a positive thing, we wouldn't have light bulbs, or at least Thomas Edison would not have invented light bulbs. Michael Jordan, we've all heard of it. He did not get into his basketball varsity team. He did not get into his varsity team, and now he's arguably one of the greatest of all time basketball players. So if you viewed that as a failure, he wouldn't have become the world's best or greatest, whatever we want to say. basketball player. So, you know, you have to fail. And then in order for failure to be successful, you have to accept it first off, but then understand, right, what am I going to do differently next time? What's the next step here for me to move past this block, move past this challenge? And you know what? Thomas Edison might be another one of those failed attempts. But you know what? You might be 10 failed attempts away from success. And if you knew that, you'd try and fail a hell of a lot quicker than you are. So they're the two big ones. Multiphasic dieting, give it a go. Planning ahead and reflecting. I've not gone into planning a little bit there. So what I mean by planning is, what does the week look like? Are you eating? Are you busy? Is work taking over? Are you at home where you can prepare meals? Are you out where you have to buy meals? What is the situation every single day? And then, do you need to prepare meals? Do you need to maybe get a meal plan from someone, or a meal prep, company, to get meals in? What do you need to do to reduce the resistance? That's what I mean by planning ahead. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope it was useful, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.